Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the beginning is the origin of time, space, and matter, right? Heavens, earth, the beginning. You've got the basic concept of all of the three principles of this universe in the first verse of Scripture. So, I mean, if you were going to start out really simply, you might say, hey, the first verse is extremely scientific in its statement, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. But what I want to do is I want to kind of jump in, let's go a little bit deeper, and let's talk about, let's see if I can pull up this slide here.
While you're pulling that up, David, there you got it. While you're pulling that up, I love that in the beginning. I mean, scientists for a long time thought that the universe might be eternal in nature. Einstein kind of fell prey to that and said that was a big blunder, that the mathematics showed it's not eternal. It did have a starting point. And that's exactly what we see the Bible saying here is it had a starting point. It did have a beginning. There was a time when there was no time, if you will.
And now even the Big Bang cosmologists that want to say that the universe is 14 billion years old, even they're having to admit that, yes, this universe must have had a beginning. And so the more we learn about astrophysics or geology or biology or paleontology, the more we're learning, the more that all of these secular scientists are having to admit, yeah, this is lining up with the Bible, but we still can't admit it. So we have to insert long ages in there and try to make the Bible incorrect. Everything we're finding, cutting edge science, is pointing us back to the Scriptures. And that's kind of one of the examples I love to give is the Arctic tern, because Jeremiah 8 verse 7 says, the stork in the heaven knows her appointed times. It talks about the turtle dove and the crane and the swallow. Well, the Arctic tern is a sea swallow. There's a picture of one right there. It is a sea swallow. There is approximately, there are about 1 million of them on planet Earth right now. They mate for life. They live 20 to 30 years, and they'll often migrate, taking a particular course to take advantage of prevailing winds. So when it gets warm or cool, they're following the warmer weathers. This is a map of the world. And if we were to check out an Arctic tern coming from Greenland or the Netherlands, they might pick a path along the African coast, travel as far as Australia, sometimes even New Zealand, and then they turn south and they spend their summers, our winters, in Antarctica, where it's warmer weather while it's cold up in the northern hemisphere. Now, as soon as it starts to cool off down in Antarctica, well, they start a northern migration once more, and all of a sudden, they end up right back to where they started. Now, here's the deal. That path that you just saw is about 56,000 miles every year.
Wow.
That's a long ways. Now, if you remember, Eric, how long did I say they live?
20 to 30 years.
So just do the math. We're talking about about 1.5 million miles in their lifetime that each one of these little birds are traveling, and yet they find their way right back to where they started year after year after year, making this circuit. So does the turtle dove, does the crane, does the sea swallow, like the Arctic tern, know where to go? Has God programmed in where it should migrate to, how to find its way back? Absolutely, Eric. In other words, I'm telling you, the Bible knows best. It's scientifically accurate from the first verse all the way to Jeremiah 8, where it's talking about the Arctic tern and these other birds. So this kind of scientific knowledge, were we able to track Arctic terns 2,000 years ago?
No, I'm sure they didn't have a clue.
No. So we put bands on these things, and then we put GPS trackers on these things, and we try to travel and track them on their paths, and we're realizing, man, they know exactly where they're going. Just like the hummingbird can find its way back to your backyard year after year after year after traveling thousands of miles, these Arctic terns could travel 56,000 miles and find its way back every year. I'm telling you, God knows what he's doing. He programmed it into the Arctic tern so that it would do what it does, and that it does quite well.
Man, the Bible truly does know best. What a great point to make there. Let alone the fact that you got something that evolutionists would say formed itself, evolved by chance, and it can last 1,000,000 miles of flight. Are you kidding me? Eating bugs and not changing the oil? Wow, that's incredible.
Absolutely. And that's just, again, one example.